Hi, I'm Adele Michael, and I'm welcoming you to a 5-part mini experience called Money and More, opening to more abundance, ease, and flow. So why now? Well, I think most of us can agree that the world has changed dramatically in the last 6 months. I'm recording this in September 2020, and we've seen a lot happen with businesses folding, economic pullback, people losing their jobs, the fires in the West, people losing their homes, the hurricanes in the East, people losing their homes. It has been an intense 6 months, and it doesn't look like it's going to be letting up anytime soon. So, what does that mean for us? I think it is very easy to slip into worry, fear, anxiety, and it is a slippery slope into despair and depression. I know because I've started to slip down that slope myself and have worked very hard to get back up on an even keel. Doesn't mean I'm happy every day, and some days I feel like weeping because of all the changes. And I do know that it's possible not to go down into that pit of darkness. And that's why I'm here today. What's at stake? Why you might want to participate in these 5 days is your financial well-being. We know that some of us have to get a lot more creative about our money and about the opportunities we bring in. Your emotional well-being, as I just mentioned, mental health and emotional well-being is much more difficult to stay in steady than it was 6 months ago. And relationship well-being. People are spending a lot more time with their loved ones, and brings up emotional issues, things that you might not have known about your partner or your children. You are learning now. So how do you align? How do you adapt to being with people or not being with people? I'm single. I live by myself. I'm not with people very much. I have found ways to do that safely, but it's very different than it was pre-COVID. Your sense of self. So what's at stake is your sense of self. Are you someone who can rise to the challenges that we are facing right now, both personal and community and global? Do you have a sense of that for yourself? Do you have a sense of optimism? Like, this is really intense. It looks really bad in some cases, but is there something good that can come out of this? Do you have a sense of optimism? And the reason that's important is because if you have optimism, you have confidence. And confidence is trust, moving forward with faith. That's literally what the word means, with faith. And if you have faith in yourself, faith in life, faith in the future can be better for you and for those you care about than it is today, then you are going to take the actions that you need to take to get the results that you desire to have. So that's what's at stake. And why am I talking to you about this? I'm Adele Michael. I'm a mindset maven. I'm a trauma specialist. I have more than 20 years experience working with people to help them get out of the ditch and back on the road to where they want to go. And I struggle with all of these issues myself. So I have been an experimental lab for over 20 years of what works. And that's what's really important to me, to share with you what works. And I work specifically with women who work. And really, do you know any woman who doesn't work? Whether it's inside the home, outside the home, inside the home while working outside the home, women work. Yeah. And because women do work so much and do so many things for so many people, it is my mission to help you have more abundance, more ease, and more flow, and learn how to align with that. So I'm going to talk a lot about alignment. And why I'm talking about that is that abundance exists already. I mean, there are probably $12 trillion that run around, exchange hands around the world every day. 12 trillion, that's a lot. And sometimes we're not standing in the pathway of that. Sometimes we are rejecting it. So my goal is to help you get in alignment with the path of money and abundance and ease and flow so that it's flowing through you. You're not efforting. Of course, you're going to have to do a lot. I mean, everybody has to take action. It's not the law of attraction that you just sit on your couch and wait for the UPS man to bring you your treasure. No, the treasure lives inside of you. So how do we align that with cosmic abundance, cosmic life, cosmic love? That's what we're talking about in these 5 days. So it's a mini experience. So I'll be sharing with you every day and giving you some things to think about and a little bit of homework to bring back the next day. So the 4 pillars that I'm going to talk about for abundance, more money and more abundance, are mental, emotional, physical, and energetic / spiritual. If you don't if you don't identify yourself as a spiritual person, you are still an energetic person. So that will be the 4th day, and then on the 5th day we'll have I will answer your questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments or send them to me. So I look forward to jumping in, and so let's go. So our first pillar is mental. So mental alignment. So what does this mean? We are talking about rethinking the mental blocks that you might have to abundance. And the thing about mental blocks is they are invisible. They're invisible. You can't see them. You live with them. They are your daily water you swim in, your daily bathtub, if you will, of energy and thoughts. So how do we start to change that? It's difficult, I think, to realize what you're thinking until you hear somebody else tell you what they're thinking. And you go, oh, that's kind of interesting. So that's why people are in coaching groups. That's why people have friends who kind of lift them up and say, well, I don't think about it that way. Yeah, so putting some new ideas into your mental bank is one way to start aligning with more abundance. I think a lot of us entertain non-truths, lies, things that are ideas that are not true. And why do we do that? Well, we were taught that. We were taught that by our family, our schools, our churches, our culture, our media. And why? Because that's what they thought, or that's what they want us to think so that we can be controlled. We can be manipulated. We can be shaped into something that we are not. And it happens to all of us. I mean, it does. And part of the work that I see that many people are doing is unraveling, untangling, decoupling those negative thoughts. So, for instance, you might, as a woman, you might think that you can't be selfish. You cannot be self-interested because you may have been taught not to be selfish. And that is a slippery slope, because if someone is telling you you're being selfish, is that because they want you to do what they want you to do? And is that selfish? I mean, we all have a self. We all have a self with needs. We all have a self with desires. And do we allow ourselves to know what those desires are and to do what we can do to have them met? I think in a lot of cases for women, we don't do that because we don't think we are allowed to do that. So that, again, is a mental construct that we have to start deconstructing. So what non-truths are you entertaining in your mind? That you are limited, that you are not able to align with abundance, that you are not capable of making money, or not capable of keeping money, or not capable of investing money and making it grow. So part of your assignment for today is to look and see where you might be stopping yourself through your thoughts. The next part of the assignment is, what are you willing to entertain instead? So I know this sounds kind of simple, but it really does work. And it doesn't necessarily work quickly, but it's more like the drip technique. What I've found, it's more like the drip technique. If I find an idea or a thought that I'm thinking that doesn't feel good, and that's the signal that it's a lie. If it feels heavy and if it makes you feel bad, it's not the truth, because you are an infinite, eternal being who has access to everything in the cosmos. And there's great love and great abundance for you. And your thoughts might be keeping you from that. I see it all the time in my practice. I see it all the time in myself. And this is how you start to deconstruct it. It's like, okay, I'm noticing that I think I'm not good with money. So the second part is, what thought would I rather entertain? I'd rather entertain that I could learn to be good with money. I could learn to be facile with it, like some of the people I know that are, it's just kind of their thing. They know how to make it, they know how to keep it, they know how to invest it, they know how to give it. Yeah, so that's a new thought for me. So as I hold on to that thought, and actually I will write it down on a Post-it note and put it someplace where I look at it, because it's so easy for the old thought to come in, that starts to expand my awareness of what's possible. And that's a big part of what we're doing here, is expanding our awareness of what's possible. And the next question is, what truths will you allow? What truths will you allow? Will you allow yourself to know that you are a deserving, valuable being just because you are alive? Take that in, because I can pretty much guarantee you, unless you're a very unusual human, you were not taught that. You are not taught that. And yet it's the truth. It is the truth. And that, I think, is the truth that many of us through our lifetime are working to re-embrace and to know deeply within ourselves. So what truths are you willing to allow? And just start with one if you want to. I am an abundant being. Abundance is available to me. So the next step I like to take is to ask an expansive question like, who do I need to be an abundant being? Who do I need to be an abundant being? Or how can I allow more abundance to come to me? Or where is there already abundance in my life that I am overlooking? I think that's a really great one, because when you think about just your body, there are, I don't know, trillions of cells and billions of physical systems that are working, and events that are happening in your body right now. You're already abundant in your body, but do we think about that? Do we appreciate that very often? No, probably not. So directing your mind to appreciating more abundance and asking expansive questions, not judgmental questions like, why can't I get good with money? No, that's a judgment with a question on the end of it, question mark on the end of it. No, it's like, how can I allow more abundance? How can I allow more money? How can I allow more ease and flow into my life? Because that's the truth of what's available. Okay, so that's your homework, is notice where you're what you're entertaining in your mind. Look at what you would rather entertain instead. Look at what truths you are allowing. And if it's not a truth, it doesn't feel good. It feels heavy or upsetting. Asking expansive questions. And you can just have one and just focus on that for the next week. That's what I like to do, and have a question every week. And it helps my mind kind of get going down avenues that I hadn't been before. And the tools to use are observing, questioning, and releasing attachment. So I had a big breakthrough this weekend. I had been really upset about what's happening in the world and all the conflict and the suffering, and how are we going to move forward with all of this? Because I think that's what's really important, is creating the future we desire. And I realized that from Eastern tradition, Eastern wisdom tradition, they talk about life as an illusion. Life as an illusion. And I had an experience several years ago. I went on a retreat up in the North Carolina mountains in this very magical place, and was there for a few days. And I was meditating. I had this image of a bright light shining through black and white slides, so that I was looking at the slides, and it was black and white images of all of the news events that I had witnessed in my life, like the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights movement, Kent State, where students were killed by the National Guards. I mean, very intense images and events. And I just kept seeing all these black and white photos pop up. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is my life in review. And then the message I got was, this is what you saw, and the light is the truth. The light is the truth. And so that happened several years ago. And this past weekend, I was like, do I need to stay upset about what's going on? Or could I step into the light and view this from not the illusion, but from the light of truth, from the light of life, from the light of the cosmos? And what would that do for me? What would that do for me? So what it did for me was, I stopped being upset, and I located the strength within me to move forward with what my work is, and what I want to give to others, and how I feel for others. It doesn't mean I don't feel for the suffering. It doesn't mean that I don't know that conflict is raging in the world. But it means that I can be settled in myself and know that the light is in me, it's in you, and it's in all of the world. And finding the light and standing in the light is it's a mental place to stand. And it has reverberations through the other areas that we're going to talk about the rest of the week. Your emotional, your physical, and your energetic and spiritual self. But I give that to you as a way to begin to release attachment, to what's going on. Because as you release attachment, you don't get so drawn into it, into the movie of life, if you will, and you're able to align more with your truth. So that's it for today. Give a thought to the things that I mentioned today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me.